Yeah, welcome everyone to today's lecture with the title, Will We All Freeze in Winter? I'm not sure like how you feel, but I have the feeling, at least in German media, every day the topic of energy is quite present at the moment, exactly for the reason, because we are still having now a heat wave, but winter is usually coming sooner than you expect. So many people are worried what is actually happening with in terms of the energy crisis that we are experiencing at the moment, and what will be the impact on our daily lives, basically. And that's the core topic I'm gonna talk today about, and I hope to engage with you actively also throughout this presentation. Yeah, just a brief background to myself. I'm Diana, I'm based in Berlin, and I am an energy transition researcher. Actually, my whole interest with the environment, with nature, started really when I was in high school. So I joined like a local environmental organization, and I really learned that it's very important to protect our nature, as it's the foundation for all of our lives. And yeah, I decided then to study environmental science and later climate science. And yeah, through some corners, I went more into the direction of renewable energy technologies. And here you can see me actually on a field very close to my work. I'm working in Potsdam, which is in the broader area of Berlin, where I recently had a chance to visit a local wind farm, which has been built also with the local involvement of the people living there. I already mentioned that at the moment it's a quite difficult time. We know that Russia is very aggressive against the Ukraine, and that we have the war. And this is another really like a crisis, and like after the pandemic, which really hits us all and which has a huge impact on our daily lives. And for this reason, I actually would like to ask you, maybe also first of all, to understand like what it does with you at the moment. So how worried are you about the energy situation, specifically in Europe? You can share if you want some small experiences in the chat. I don't know, Anastasia, if you have the live polling up, maybe we can also see what you think about it. We can bring it up if this would be possible. We will see. Oh, the chat is disabled at the moment. Thank you for letting us know. Hopefully we'll be able to solve this and to let you all engage a little bit more with us.
Just a second, I will fix the chat issue.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, maybe once the chat is kind of working, but you can also otherwise already use the small functions of smileys. Maybe if you feel good and you think you're not worried, you can make like a thumbs up. And if you're kind of worried about the situation, you can maybe rather use a sad face or a thumb down in the chat.
The chat shall be working now.
Perfect, thank you so much. Yeah, I see already some answers are coming in. Someone was just sharing that the person is very worried a lot at the moment. Another worried person here. We will leave the chat on anyway throughout the talk, so you can always use it to share your thoughts, but also to share your questions. And throughout the talk, I will also make some stops so we can have a look together in the chat. So what I see here, okay, there are some answers coming in that people are worried about the situation. This might be also the reason why you joined the seminar today, and you maybe want to learn more what does it all actually mean for us, and hopefully we can also discuss a bit about the different solutions, so what we all can actually do out of this situation. So first of all, we need to be clear that energy powers our lives. So basically, we eat to move our bodies, to do different activities. We also use different appliances that, of course, require energy. I just showed you, I use also myself a lot, as also a lot of younger people, right? Nowadays, we spend a lot of time at our cell phones, maybe sharing stories. What are we doing? I use my laptop every day at work, and I also love to travel. So here you can see me arriving actually for a scientific conference in London in June. So also this strains all the infrastructure we are using in our daily life actually requires energy. Yeah, and of course, the question is, where does actually all this energy come from, right? I don't know if you ever thought about it yourself, if you go for your day and you figure out I use actually a lot of energy, but where does this energy actually come from? So the question I got for you, what do you think is actually the main energy source in Europe? So what is mainly powering actually our daily life? So again, you can use the chat function, if you think it's actually petroleum products, including like different oil products, be it like directly used as fuel or as we use for our cars. Is it natural gas? B, or is it the renewable energy? So I here put all the renewable energy sources together, meaning energy that really comes from wind, solar, and so on and so forth. So what do you think? What is the main energy source in Europe? I see already some answers are coming in. We have now also the live chat. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Anastasia. So you can also just participate in the live poll. You should all see now you're on your screen. First, people are answering already. So I see the majority thinks that natural gas is our main energy source. Some others are answering oil. No one believes in renewable energy. How can this be? Okay, maybe you're too smart. You know already we are not there yet, even though, right, we are at the moment in the energy transition. And there was actually another question. I think some of you already got displayed. How much of the natural gas, one dominant question, right, we are talking at the moment in Europe, comes from Russia. So if you want, you can already vote also for this question. So if you specifically focus now on natural gas, which is a part of the main discussion, what do you think? How much of the natural gas that we import in the European Union at the moment comes from Russia? So I give you a little bit more time. We see now really a majority saying that, the main energy source in Europe is natural gas, with I think here almost 90% thinking that. The others think of oil. And also the majority thinks that, 60% of natural gas comes from Russia. Equally off, or afterwards, right, comes 40%. Okay, perfect. Thank you all so much for participating. I'm closing it now, and I'm also sharing with you now the result here. You can see. So and we will have a look in a bit what the answers, the right answers actually are, with the clearer numbers to it. So actually the main energy source in Europe is petroleum products at the moment, followed by natural gas, and afterwards renewable energy. So you can say roughly 2/3 of the energy sources are fossil fuel based, and another third is actually shared by renewable energy. They make at the moment around 17%, and then actually combined or followed also by nuclear energy as another energy source in the European Union. now we have the numbers as well. Perfect. So you can see it now here, the shares, 34 with petroleum, 24 natural gas, and then renewable energy with 17%. Thank you all for voting and yeah, providing your answers. Very nice. So moving on from this, I think, yeah, one energy source, of course, that dominates at the moment quite a lot is natural gas, specifically in the discussion, yeah, in the context of the Russian war against the Ukraine. And I hope my slides will move on in a second. I will give it a bit of time. Sometimes it's not as fast as you wish, like all the technology. Even you expect it after 2 years of COVID, right? That everything works smoothly, but unfortunately not. Wait a second, I will just briefly reshare my presentation with you. And we have a closer look. No. Okay, so here we are back. So yeah, I mean, and one of the key issues is actually that this energy we all need in our daily lives has become much more expensive. So here you can see a figure showing the development of energy prices over the last 5 years. You can see the different sources, specifically if we talk about gas, about fuel, like for our diesel cars, petroleum, also for our cars or heating systems, and electricity. And yeah, what you can clearly see, there are some ups and downs, some waves. And the question is why? Why do we actually see this different development? So if some of you have a good guess why we see what we are kind of seeing here at the moment, please let me know. You can write some guesses also in the chat, what you think, what could be right. But I can tell you already, whatever you write, the answer is not easy. So there are different reasons, different economic, but also different environmental reasons why we have seen these different fluctuations. Usually quite one reason is, of course, like now we know our weather gets warmer, right? Our global temperatures are increasing and many countries experience now milder winters. If you think about a milder winter, the logical consequence is that we need to heat our apartments less, right? And therefore, the demand goes down, and with the demand going down, also the energy prices decrease. If you have like a very, very cold winter where everyone is requesting for this energy resources, specifically gas and oil, then the prices will go automatically up because we have more competition for these sources on the market. And what you can see here over this 5 years is that actually from 2019 till actually the beginning of 2021, the prices were relatively low. And this is not very surprising if you think, oh, what happened actually during this time? As we all know, there was the Corona crisis. So many of us have been kind of in lockdown. We didn't use as much electricity as we used to use. We were basically at home, so we didn't drive around with our cars as much as before. And therefore, we had very much lower prices because the demand was low. But then we see already here in 2021, the prices went up again. And now you can wonder, why is this? First of all, many countries now closed up, so we can travel around again a lot. And we saw actually, in fact, a lot of competition for the available energy resources, specifically between the European countries and Asia. So there was a lot of competition for the specific products available, and therefore we have seen strong increases. Also, there was the fact that maybe not all the resources that were available have been shared with other European countries. If you think specifically about Russia, so there were a lot of discussions actually if Russia is not sharing as much as Russia could be, so that they were kind of holding back a bit the resources and not sharing them with us. So now we have also the text here appearing. Sorry for this little flaws in my technology here. And then, of course, we know like a very recent event or in the beginning of the year was that Russia decided to invade the Ukraine. And this, of course, has sparked the energy crisis. I don't know if you were also on the streets in some of your cities. This is how a protest in Berlin looked like. Yeah, I think this was in April, March or April this year. You can see still there are no leaves on the trees. So it was still quite cold in Germany. And of course, in consequence of the war, the Western countries actually have sanctions on Russia. So they basically said like that what you're doing is not right. So we will put specific economic sanctions into place to make it more harmful for the Russian economy, ideally also to maintain this war and to continue. And yeah, as we already, or as we can learn, that Russia is actually the biggest provider of natural gas and oil in Europe. So you can see here like a pipeline going really like blood into the European Union body, because over the years we created in Europe a high dependence on Russian oil and gas. So now you can guess like how much actually of the natural gas in Europe comes from Russia. We voted already for this. So most of you voted 60%, others said 40%. The fact is that 40% roughly of the natural gas in the EU comes from Russia at the moment, and 30% of the oil imports in the EU come from Russia as well, which really highlights the strong dependence from a single country. There are differences like how dependent different countries are. You can see like I'm based in Germany. You can see specifically Germany has a high dependence actually on gas imports from Russia, but also Italy and other European countries. So that's, of course, now a challenge if you say Russia is the enemy and we don't want to trade with them. But if we have, of course, a reliance to power actually our whole society and economy still with these products we are importing from Russia, it's, of course, not possible to say from day one to day two that we stop all of this. And this brings up the question, will we now all freeze in winter? So what are we kind of doing? If we maybe don't get enough gas and oil from Russia, or even if we don't want it, what are we doing? But there is like, of course, now this big discussions if Russia will maybe even cut off like all the gas supply. Therefore, we say kind of Russia is using in the war, which is actually, of course, like taking place at the moment in the Ukraine. But you can really say that maybe Russia is using gas as a weapon against the rest of Europe. Of course, what Russia wants is that we release the sanctions, that we are again more friendly, and that they can basically do whatever they want. That's at least kind of the hope put in very, very simple words. So now there was a big discussions, specifically also on the level of the European Union. What can we actually do? So policymakers now discuss a lot. What measures could we actually put in place to ensure an energy security? And one of the key plans has a very fancy name. It's called Repower EU. So to do something again, but maybe also the association with the renewable energy technologies, and of course, to power basically our economy and society in the EU. So this is kind of a central action to ensure affordable, secure, and sustainable energy in our society. And you can see here nicely 3 different pillars. The first pillar is on the top to really accelerate the energy transition. We will have a closer look to this topic in a bit. But what it basically means is to make our energy provision cleaner, so to move away actually from oil and gas in long term and rather also midterm. And to do this, to rely only on those energy sources, we now really need to speed up this transition to those sources very, very rapidly and very deeply across all our different economic sectors, be it like our buildings or be it how we move in our daily lives with our cars and buses. The second big topic down to the right is to save energy. So to do everything that we need less energy, because all the energy we don't need is actually the best, because it's kind of not, that we don't emit anything, we don't have any impact. So it's best actually to save all the energy we can do. We will also have a closer look into this in a bit. And the last one is to diversify energy sources. What does this mean? Of course, it means that we don't only look into one specific energy source, but also that we diversify our partners who are kind of importing us now with different fossil fuel resources, so that we really phase out basically the dependence on Russian fossil fuels as soon as possible. That is kind of the aim. And of course, what is all needed for this is a lot of money. So we need smart investments, as is written here down here, that needs to be put in place by different plans, not only on the European, but also on our national level. So by the countries in each of you that are living. And important is also to mention that, yes, specifically on the side of safe energy, there is now a voluntary agreement that has been signed among the different EU member states to reduce the consumption by 15% next winter. So we really set now all a target to save energy from gas together. And here I can tell you the good news is that they really decided when it comes to the savings and who might be affected by cutoffs, they said, no, a priority will be always given to private households, so that households will be supplied by gas as much as needed, also hospitals and important industries that are basically very relevant to run our whole economy overall. Yeah, nevertheless, now to save this energy, different countries have to take different measures to reduce energy consumption. And I would like to learn from you, maybe an invitation to share in the chat again, if you know already of some specific measures that your country plans to take in order to make this energy savings possible. So if you know already of something that your government is planning or is doing already, if you have received certain information, or once you heard something about media, please share with us this information in the chat. Would be nice to get some insights from what you know already in your country. If you want, you can also raise your hand as an alternative, and you can also share it with us. So I see some are writing raising prices for electricity, for example. So basically to say send the incentives once it's more expensive, we use it less, right? We are more carefully, how much can I actually really use? Oh, here I read in the Netherlands is encouraging people to set the office temperature to 19 degrees Celsius instead of the previous 21. Very interesting one. Another measure is to limit central heating or cooling temperatures in public spaces. Also in France, an example from France here, which basically affects malls, shops, and governmental spaces. So again, like this topic on temperatures, very interesting. Yeah, feel free to share and to type further. I will have another look to the chat in a bit. And yeah, what you said was also what I basically found also here from France. Besides the cooling, we already heard, or the heating, we heard already that they also want to limit the cooling, that you cannot cool, like, if it's only if it's like temperatures above 29 degrees. But also that advertisements is usually, like, all our cities are very bright and you see a lot of advertisement, that also some measures are going to be taken here. Then we have the example from Italy and Germany as well, but my computer is a bit slow, so I'll have another look in the chat what you found here. Someone is sharing that there were some rumors that also hot water consumption will be limited in public spaces. So yes, besides heating, of course, hot water is also kind of a big topic. That's very interesting. I know from Germany, we are discussing also at the moment this limitation of heating in public spaces. So there was also the discussion of 19 degrees. And something similar I actually also found for Italy, because they also rely, like as Germany, they are both very reliant on natural gas. So they also plan to put here specific measures, in fact, in place. So here it comes now. So of course, but the energy crisis is also a social challenge. What does it mean? I mean, someone just mentioned already in the chat, we experience already an increase in prices for electricity, for heating. So maybe all the bills that are now coming in, are getting higher and higher. If you pay on a monthly basis, you maybe have experienced it already, that you pay now much more for your electricity prices as it was before. I think partially it's even double, triple, 4 times as much as it was actually before. So that's a really very dramatic increase of specific energy prices. And one issue is, of course, what we want is that we defend actually the right to energy for all. So what does it mean? Like ideally, we of course want to live in a society where everyone can afford to have access to electricity, but also can afford to keep really our homes warm. And I find it quite interesting, like even when you think, oh, Europe is so developed, like energy poverty is still an issue in Europe already. So I have here figures from 2018. And Europe is always monitoring. So how many people are so-called energy poor, which means that they actually have not a good standard actually in terms of access to energy, not only in terms of quantity, but also in terms of quality access to energy. And there are different indicators. One indicator you can see here, it's actually to what extent the population is not able to keep their homes adequately warm. So the European Union always does a survey among the population, and one of the questions the people receive is, can your household afford to keep its home adequately warm? So you can see the question again down here to the right. And then, the people answer if they can afford it or if not. And here in the color code, you can see the percentage of the population that answers that they are actually unable to keep the home adequately warm. And you can see in certain countries, like specifically rather in Southern Europe, you have some countries like Greece, also Bulgaria, that kind of pop here. Also, here in the north, in the Baltic countries, we kind of see some darker colors, or also in Portugal and partially in Italy. So, but the darkest is really here, like actually in Bulgaria, where really 40 to 50% of the population even said that they cannot keep their homes adequately warm during the winter time, which is it's a lot. And another question that the people in the survey need to answer is if in the last 12 months, the household had errors, meaning that they were, for example, unable to pay a bill on time due to financial difficulties. If you think about heating bills that came in, electricity bills, and they were basically not able to pay for those bills that they received in your household. And again, like here, the households then answer to what extent this is the case. And you can see again that this is mainly an effect a lot in Greece, Bulgaria, but also Serbia pops up here, Romania, partially in Croatia, where between really 20 to 50% again of the household answers that they are actually not able to pay their bills that are coming in into their households. Which again, is quite a high number if you think about it. And this is not even taking into account neither really the Corona crisis and the effects, nor the recent developments we see now with the further increases in the electricity and gas prices this year caused by the Ukrainian war. So what does this all mean? It means that yes, it is. The energy crisis is really a societal challenge. And what is really urgently needed is actually support and specifically for low-income households. And many countries now also have thought about putting specific measures in place to support countries specifically. In Germany, there is now idea that in September, everyone will get like once a specific amount of money, if I'm not mistaken, was I think €300 to support the people in paying their bills. And I think similar measures are also planned across Europe. Again, feel free to please share if you heard about this kind of initiatives also in your country. So safe energy for a safe winter, that is kind of now the term that has been used a lot actually by the European Union. What it basically means is also that everyone needs to save energy. So of course, like, and we look who's kind of using all the gas. We see that a lot goes to the industry. So industry has a huge demand for the natural gas coming from Russia, but also other countries. But of course, if it really comes about saving energy, we all can play our part here. And you can see this nice photo of a protester actually from from a global climate strike in Switzerland. Don't support Putin, no gas. And if we really want to reach this, if we really want to say, become independent from the gas from Putin, we all need to reduce our gas consumption as soon as possible. So how do we do this? The gas shortage ultimate solution. Is this the ultimate solution? That's the question. I think there was like a TV show that always used this nice machines here where you basically walk. I would like to ask you, what have you done already to save energy? And maybe what are different measures you maybe already thought of you could take? So again, the invitation to really share your ideas in the chat. We want to use a bit like the swarm intelligence here, maybe also to get some ideas from each other, what we could do to save energy at home. I will give you some time now to write some ideas in the chat, maybe what you have done already or what you're expected to do once we are maybe also moving towards the winter season. Oh, I saw a question. What is adequately warm? A very, very good question. I think it comes, of course, it depends, right? That's not like a specific temperature. Like when it comes to heating, of course, there are different feelings. So it's kind of a self-assessment of having a good well-being at home in terms of the temperature. So it's not defined what it means specifically. It's rather a measure of self-assessment. If you feel that you feel comfortable, basically at home. Thank you for this question. And we now have also some answers. Use water wisely and turn off on the heating accordingly. So the water component. Another suggestion is to switch to working from home, lowering heating temperatures 17 degrees in winter, and to walk more. Very interesting. So also addressing different topics. If living throughout the entire winter of 2022-23 without heating at home would mean stopping Putin, I would go for it without hesitation. That's nice. Yeah, might be a bit not sure if this is really feasible, but of course, again, like as we had before, lowering the temperature, rather maybe taking one pullover more before, turning off the heater. I think that would be already like a great contribution. Use less personal transport, cars, and more public transportation or cycling when possible. Also very nice suggestion. Of course, like much specifically of the oil, right, goes also in the transport sector. And the more people, like, the more we do kind of car sharing or really like with more use public transport, it's of course much better, and even better to cycle or to walk, of course. Then we don't need any fuels, but just our muscle power. Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing these insights and suggestions of what you are doing already or what you're planning to do. Feel free to continue to think about it, maybe to brainstorm also a bit further afterwards. And we will come back to this a bit at the end of the presentation as well. So I think, of course, in short term, there are many things now we can do to do our part, maybe to help actually to reduce the energy consumption also at our home. I think it's nice. But of course, we also know that the energy crisis can't wait. So here we kind of see planet Earth sitting on a couch, and first was looking sadly, oh, everyone was talking about the corona virus, right? It was kind of dominating all the debate. And now a lot is dominated by energy security. The war is going on, and no one again talks about planet Earth and what we actually need to do to save our planet. While I think you're all aware, or you always, I guess, experience it this year yourself, we have very, very hot summers with a lot of heat waves. We see literally exactly what this planet Earth sees in its window. We see really like forests are burning across Europe. We also see that rivers are very, very dry, so they have very, very low water levels. And all these extreme weather events are expected to increase with the ongoing climate, with ongoing global, kind of very serious and a topic we should not forget. Of course, now in short term, everyone talks about how to secure our energy supply. Many ministers go and look for energy sources that can now replace us in short term, maybe to import gas and oil from other countries. But a message must be clear that actually we are still committed to our climate targets. And if we do so, if we are really too committed to our climate targets, to really become independent from the fossil fuel resources that heat up our climate, we need to move towards 100% renewable energy. I quite like this photo here from Ellery's studio in Berlin, which made this nice photo where we can see the old members of the family we already talked about, like gas and oil, but also, of course, brown coal and hard coal is still part of it, also nuclear energy. But more and more actually the renewable energy sources. So the more newer and hipper family members come more and more in the focus of the discussion. So we have offshore and onshore wind, we have hydropower, we have geothermal energy sources which basically come from the heat of our Earth. We can use much more biomass by actually like using our waste to heat us. Maritime energy, including also wave energy, and of course solar power, so solar energy, be it on our roofs or on unused fields in our land. And I want to share with you two photos. Actually, to the right, you can see this solar panel on the roof of my parents' house. So my parents actually, I think it's almost 10 years ago, that they decided to invest in renewable energy, specifically in solar photovoltaic, and still happily providing them with clean and regenerative electricity until today. And here on the left, you can see a wind farm in close to a forest, which is like a really agriculture-based forest, close to the area, close to Berlin, close to where I work. And it's also super impressive, like if you see how small the people are standing in here and how big actually those wind turbines really got, and how much electricity they can produce to power our energy supplies. Are you already a fan of renewable energy? And what renewable energy sources do you prefer? I think we got another small live poll. Anastasia, if you're able, you can bring it up. Ah, there it is already. Perfect. So let's do a quick vote. Are you rather a fan of solar panels on the roof? Would you say like, yes, that's what I want to do? Are you saying rather like, oh, I like wind turbines, be it on land or otherwise on the sea? biomass or hydropower. Of course, you can also share further sources in the chat. Yeah, someone also just shared geothermal energy, so energy really from the earth in the chat. Thanks, very interesting. I think I lost the live polling somehow. I'm not sure if you can still see it. I hope so. Oops. Or maybe by opening the chat, maybe I got out of the voting. So yeah, we see there are different preferences around here. I think I saw a preference, for all the different renewable energy sources, which is actually perfect, because what we actually, of course, need is kind of a mix, right? We cannot only rely on the wind or cannot only rely on sun, because as we know, the sun is not always shining or the wind is not always blowing. So the best is actually to have a mix of different renewable energy technologies in the future to actually power our daily lives. And why they are so great, why I am already a fan, and hopefully you will become a great fan as well if you're not yet already. First of all, like there's now a big discussion to what extent renewable energy technologies can be really peace technologies. So many said now, if we have renewable energy, we can produce it more widely, and wherefore we have less conflicts and less war in the world for energy resources such as oil and gas. This might be a bit simplistic. So of course you can say you have different potential, so you can spread the production more widely, and everyone, like every single country, will be actually able to use one or even more renewable energy sources to produce electricity. But nevertheless, we also have to always think about it like that different resources are also inherent in the technologies. And then we need to ask ourselves critical, where do the different minerals and raw materials actually come from for renewable energy? And this is, of course, also a very sensitive topic. That would fill another whole lecture, but it's, I think, something important I wanted to mention here. What is clear is that renewable energy can reduce our energy dependence because we can produce electricity more locally. So there is really the ability that every one of us can get involved in the production of renewable electricity. It's also great because it's more locally and more people can participate and produce their own energy. So there is really this drive across Europe that more and more individuals decide to invest in renewable energy, to put their own solar panels on the roof, or maybe even as a municipality, as a community, that more people come together and collectively actually invest in renewable energy, which has become also a very, very great business concept, which brings a lot of value, not only to individual peoples, but also to whole communities, for example, that they can build nicer schools or do renovations in existing school buildings, which I find truly impressive. And of course, last but not least, almost without emissions. So renewable energies are regenerative energy sources. So they are good for our health because they don't pollute and they don't emit any CO2 or methane, which would heat up our climate. So these are all kind of good reasons to actually move towards 100% renewable energy. If you have more ideas why you like them, please again use the chat. So I want to close a little bit to come back to the actions. What can we now all do? Clear is that all our actions kind of count together. We can all save energy by taking shorter and less hot showers. So I think there is now this big debate about, do we need to shower every day, or can we shower every second day? But also, like, already really taking shorter and cooler showers is super effective. To really lower our heating temperatures by first on getting a pullover before actually turning on the heaters, by decreasing the heating temperature, so a lot like what we already discussed before. But also in terms of energy, we can use more in terms of electricity by, for example, using more energy efficient lighting, or in general, more energy efficient products. Someone mentioned also cycling before. So of course, when we walk, we cycle, or use public transport instead of a car, yeah, we can save so much fuels by doing so. And you can even more also contribute by making your own energy transition, for example, to switch to a green electricity provider. So we have a really liberal electricity market in Europe, which actually allows you can decide who is providing you actually with the electricity and who is providing you with the gas. So you can choose your own provider. For the students and kids, it might be rather your parents. Maybe you can go back to them and ask them, hey, who is actually providing us with electricity? And of course, you can also start a project to build a solar panel, be it like at home, to ask your parents if this would be an opportunity, if you have the financial opportunity to do so, or even go back to your school. So there is a growing movement actually of solar schools that produce their own electricity by investing in a solar panel. Many governments actually have specific funding schemes also to support this. So it's a very great opportunity to not only get green electricity at your school, but also to learn more hands-on, because I know sometimes it's hard to find them. They are on the houses, right? And you don't see them, and you don't actually know how many solar panels are already there. So might be also a nice task maybe to go out and to look more carefully for the alternative renewable energy sources that you know already in your environment. So these are kind of all invitations for individual actions. But of course, it's not only to ask to do something, it's really about policymakers, it's really also about businesses to act. So it's always good to demand change, like you really have a voice and your voice counts. Those of you who can already vote, it's like very powerful, like what you can do, like depends really as a lot also on the government, to what extent they support a specific transformation. And of course, talk to others about it. The more people we are that actually demand the change, the more we can actually move together. So it's really a growing movement. So I would like to really invite you to become part of this global movement of people who really demand for clean, affordable, and secure energy, which is super good, not only for us, for our health, but also for our planet Earth. So what do you think now in the end? Can we stay warm in winter? Are you still having doubts, or you feel like a little bit more safe? So I would actually really like to invite you to stay on and to discuss a little bit this matter together. And I'm happy to receive your questions. Don't also hesitate to reach out to me later with your questions, if you see the recording. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Diana. We are just giving now another couple of minutes for the questions into the chat. Thank you once again for the lecture. It was really interesting and inspiring, and personally for me, it gave some hope to be kept warm in winter.
Okay, that's good. Good news. Thanks for sharing. Yes. Yeah, since we are not a huge group, like I think we can also make it more interactive, not even like writing the questions in the chat, but I'm not sure to what extent people are able to unmute themselves, but maybe we can allow it. I'm not sure, Anastasia, if you think it's a good idea, but I think, yeah, they can do it anyway. So yeah, feel free also to ask your questions directly so that we can engage a little bit more. Yes. And I received already the first question. What do you think about e-cars? Thank you so much. So I know like e-cars or e-mobility in general is kind of highly debated, right? I mean, one thing we need to be clear is that we actually, first of all, we want to move away from individual mobility more to shared mobility forms. So meaning that we actually want that we have less cars on the streets, and instead we have a better public transport, we have the safer cycling infrastructure, and so on and so forth. Nevertheless, for the cars that will be remaining, e-cars or electric cars are a good opportunity. Why? Because like if we want to really decarbonize our transport sector, we need to go away from fossil fuel-based engines, basically. And for this, electrification is one of the key angles in many sectors, of which one is also transportation. I think there was also a lot of public debates, of course, only e-cars are only useful if we assume that our future energy system is based on 100% renewable energy, right? Like if we have still a dirty energy mix, if we still have electricity produced by gas, then it does not make sense at all. But if we really want to move towards 100% renewables, then this is a good form. And it's also a good form in the sense that the e-cars have a battery, so they can even store the electricity, and they could potentially also store it not only in for their own meaning and use, but also for a more like systemic function, for example, like overnight. So the critical part, of course, are again the raw materials side, which is often discussed with batteries. So we need to really be carefully where the different energy raw materials come from, and that we become much better in terms of recycling, so that we do not need to extract more and more raw materials, be it like big discussions around lithium, and that we diversify, so that we not only rely on one raw material, but that we really become innovative in the sense of the raw materials that can be used. And this is something we see at the moment already happening. If there are further questions, I think Anna, you asked it. Please feel free to do so. Yes, thank you for sharing.
I see another question in the Q&A box.
Oh, yes. Oh, I don't see it yet, I think. Here. Yes, the other box. Perfect. What is your favorite renewable energy source? Thank you. Yes, thanks for the question. My favorite, I think my favorite is it's very hard. I think solar energy. I'm still a big fan of solar energy, and see that it's I hope to see that really more and more like houses in all our cities will be full with solar energy. I think it's the one that gains also highest acceptance. So we always do like specific surveys also among the population. What renewable energy sources do you actually prefer? And the common answer we get is that people really love solar energy much more than wind, because wind, of course, has a much higher impact also on our landscapes, which is seen much more critical. So we see there are a lot of issues in terms of acceptance across Europe. So this we don't see with solar energy, and you still have the possibility to include a lot of people. Everyone can actually build his or her own solar panel. Even in the cities, there are kind of new concepts where different tenants come together. That's all like still not so well thought through, but it must be, and we must really push for this kind of concepts. Yeah, I can share I'm quite a fan from this whole community idea that you have different people that become active in the energy transition. So I really see like one of the key benefits is really that we can have more democratic systems, that we are moving away from being only consumers. We're not only consumers, we really become like the producers, right, of electricity, maybe even the traders, the ones that store the electricity. And I think that's really a good opportunity to empower ourselves and also to benefit from it. So I gave earlier the example from the wind farms where people kind of collectively invest, and it's really a great opportunity to make income also for the communities, specifically in rural areas where they often cannot rely and make enough income with agriculture. Yeah, maybe what is yours would be then the other question, right?
I believe I see another question.
Oh, another question.
Yeah, in the same box.
Yes, I see it. Would using less plastic count as the contribution to consume less energy in society, or does it having nothing to do with this? Very good and very important question. So of course, plastic, what is plastic? Plastic is basically oil, right? So yes, it's of course in this sense related, that once we reduce our plastic consumption, we kind of also save on the demand for oil. But when you really compare it in the sense of like, completely, not using plastic anymore versus like, you know, really going green with renewable energy, then the direct production and consumption from renewable energy has a much bigger effect, you know. Like there are much bigger effects you can have with deciding not to fly, with deciding not to have a car anymore, or with deciding to have like an energy efficient washing machine. Like if you only really think about energy, you know, how much energy you can save and where you can do good, it has a much bigger effect really to think about renewable energy and to think about energy efficiency and of course saving. Much debates now in Germany are also coming about living space, right? Like if you of course live on a smaller area, then you also need to heat less. But instead we see the tendency we build more, everyone wants to live bigger space, which is of course like rather counterproductive. So it's this whole debate also about energy sufficiency, like a very interesting idea. So how much we can really consume less. But nevertheless, if you count like on plastic and its impacts on the overall environment, of course, we globally see that it's dramatic, right? We have dramatic plastic pollution in our oceans. And that's a very important topic to really look for alternatives here. Alternatives to plastic, but also to become better in recycling. So we always think like, oh, we are the masters, we recycle everything, but actually that's not really the case. So recycling would be nice because then you reuse basically the oil that is in the plastic, so it doesn't, you know, go away, so it stays. So recycling is one of the first choices. And if not, of course, you can burn it. And if you burn it, it's again like oil, as we said, in the material, and then yeah, you burn it as a material. So you can even use it as an energy source instead of like, you know, seeing it ending up in our seas. So thanks for this question. So I see there are some more in the chat. So I'm moving now here. Okay, just thank you, super. Oh, we are also at 6 already. So
I just wanted to say that now time is already
perfect.
up. I wanted to thank you one more time for the lecture. I want to thank Julia for our collaboration. Hope not the last one. And I want to thank the audience for joining today and for donating and joining the initiative. Thank you very much. We wish you all a good day or evening, depending on where you are, and hope to see you soon at any other lecture.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you so much.
Glad. And yeah, keep in touch. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.